Hello, hello. Welcome back to Wedding Wednesday. My name is Adriana, and today we have a really juicy episode. Firstly, I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 things that my grandparents did at their wedding or didn't do at their wedding that we now do at our weddings, at our generation. I'm also going to share a few listener submissions wondering what would Ad do in these different wedding related situations. And lastly, I'm going to share the update on that Reddit story from 2 episodes ago. So stay tuned for that. I also invited my fiance to come co-host with me. So let's say hello to Antoine. Hi, Antoine. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, so I'm on vacation, so I'm going to be asking Ad some questions. What would Ad do? That's going to be fun, I think.
I think it's going to be really fun. Thank you for co-hosting with me.
My pleasure.
Welcome to Wedding Wednesday, the podcast that's about to spill all the tea on what it's like to plan a wedding from the bride's perspective and all the details no one talks about. I'm creating the podcast I need to keep me sane and feeling less alone as I plan my own wedding. We're diving deep into the hilarious, messy, and sometimes crazy world of wedding planning and wedding horror stories. Get ready to laugh, cry, and maybe feel a little less alone in this wedding planning madness. So let's kick things off with the 10 things our grandparents didn't do at their wedding that we now do, okay? Yeah. This stems from a conversation. Were you there when I was having that conversation with my grandfather? Yeah, we were just having this really interesting conversation about how weddings back then were really just about what a wedding is supposed to be, which is getting married and celebrating your love and building a partnership. And so it was really small back then, right? The weddings versus today, they're now a big production. And don't get me wrong, we love the production of it all. We do. But it makes things interesting when in these conversations with our grandparents because they don't understand a lot of the things that we do. So let's just kick things off with the first one. And this one I got from my grandmother on my dad's side. Okay. She said, "Oh, now people get down on one knee to propose. Back then, nobody got down on one knee to propose. You would call the family, ask for the hand in marriage. You would sit down the families together and have a conversation. Or you would ask your girlfriend or boyfriend, you would ask your girlfriend if you wanted to get married. Today, we do this whole thing where you surprise the girl and you get down on one knee.
I think that's a more... The getting down on one knee is a more Western European traditions.
Okay.
Middle Eastern tradition, still some. I think there's some of this day, like the families will go and ask the hand in marriage.
Yeah.
It's more, I don't want to say transactional, but it is like, it's more like the permission. The family will come ask the permission, not just the groom, but the whole family. Like the parents will come and it's kind of like they come in with flowers and gifts and they go to the bride's house with her parents there and her family's there, and then they approve of the marriage.
Yeah. Even my dad, when he proposed, I don't know if he got down on one knee, but he proposed with a bouquet of flowers. He didn't propose with a ring.
I thought that was like, in medieval times they would get down on one knee and like offer the rose. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's
no idea.
Maybe it's a much more newer tradition.
Maybe we should Google like where this tradition comes from. If anybody knows, like let us know in the comments. But yeah, they did their ring together after because she wanted to. I think he was worried about getting her a ring that she wasn't gonna like, so they decided to build the ring together. And he proposed, anyways, with roses. So that's one thing that we did differently, which you got down on one knee and did the whole thing, and it was great. So.
And I did the square back, the straight back.
You did do that. You practiced a couple of times.
Yeah. We know arched backs here.
Yeah, love it. Another thing that they didn't do at their wedding back then was a dancing reception. They didn't do a big wedding reception where everybody's dancing and it's a big party. They kind of just got married and maybe like a couple days later had like a little low-key lunch at their house, kind of like almost like what a housewarming kind of is now, versus us doing like the big dancing thing and it's like a whole celebration. I thought that was really interesting too. Something else they didn't do was a long honeymoon.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said?
Yeah. Because he had to work. He couldn't get vacation.
He had to work. He couldn't take vacation, so they went for the weekend somewhere.
Yeah. My parents have a very similar story, actually, to that.
Do they really?
Yeah. Because my parents are Lebanese. My dad was here in Canada when he met my mom. Like, he met my mom in Lebanon, but then he came back here. And then the next summer, he was going to go and get married. But my mom is born here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went back to Lebanon when my grandfather took his retirement. He got early retirement because he used to work in a plant and the plant closed. So he got early retirement and he went to Lebanon to spend it with the kids. And then so my mom had a Lebanese Canadian passport. All of her friends didn't. All of her friends who married from people from abroad had to wait for the visa process.
Mm-hmm.
So they would get these extended honeymoons of like months and months in Lebanon living. My mom got a week in Cyprus and then she came here. That was that.
To the winter? When did they get married?
They get married in the summer. They got married in July. But my dad had to come back to work. Like my dad was an employee back then. He didn't have his business like he has now. So he had like his 3-week vacation. He's like, tick tock, like we have to come back.
Yeah.
So they went. I think he went a week before the wedding to Lebanon. They did they did the preparation. They got married. They went on their week honeymoon, and he was back here on Monday, back to work. So yeah.
And your mom hadn't seen, like, had she seen where she was going to live here and stuff before?
No.
She went to a country a bit blind, even though she's seen Canada before.
Yeah, but she was in Ontario. She was in Quebec.
Yeah, she's never been in Quebec.
Yeah.
So that must have been shocking to her.
Yeah. She came here and that was that. And she came here like in August. It was still nice. And everybody kept telling her, wait till you see the winter.
Yeah.
And then the winter back then were cold ones.
Yeah, they were worse than now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, poor her. Did they have a big wedding, your parents, in Lebanon?
From the picture I saw, it wasn't like a 300 people wedding. It seemed like a 200 people wedding. Honestly.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people in the pictures. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
like, not huge, but not small by any stretch.
Okay. Something else that they didn't necessarily do, our grandparents, that we do now more, is getting married. Christian weddings anyway, we get married on Saturdays. They didn't necessarily get married on a Saturday back then. They kind of just chose a day that worked and got married on that day. Could have been a Friday, a Sunday, in the middle of the week. I forget what day my grandparents got married, like on both sides. But I recall it not being necessarily on a Saturday, and that being kind of like completely fine, you know?
Yeah. It's just harder when it's not on a weekend date, you know?
It's harder because we have the big party now.
Yeah, and true. And then back to work, and it's just like, it's nice when it's on a weekend.
For sure. Totally agree with you on that. They didn't have a 12-month plus engagement.
Yeah. Weddings were, even dating was shorter.
There was no dating.
You met, and it was like you met for the purpose of getting engaged and getting married. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Now it's like you get to know the person, and that's if you decide to get married and if you decide to get engaged, you know? But also, again, with doing the big hoopla, like there's costs associated to it. So you kind of want to spread that cost on a longer period. So that's why also you see a bit more of those longer engagements. Yeah.
We also don't have the whole expectation of having to start our life once we're married.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Life's already started. Like, you know, you started already building those big blocks. You know, back then it was like, get married, procreate, let's go. We want kids.
It's true.
That's what it was. And like, even if you wanted to move out, you had to get married. Like, it was this whole, everything was bricked and down. You unlocked, it's sad to say, but you unlocked your freedom from getting married. That's what it was.
Legit though. That's exactly what it was.
You know, as a girl, you'd leave your parents' house. That was the only acceptable
way to do so.
Yeah. Versus now that's not even a consideration anymore.
How long was your parents' engagement? Do you know?
It was a year and a half because my dad was here. So my dad met my mom at the end of one summer. So I think that was my parents got married in 94. So it must have been in 92 at the end of that summer he met her. Went back to Lebanon to see her the next summer. And then the next summer after that it was like a year and a half almost, I think.
Yeah.
And my dad is a romantic. My dad would, like, back in the day, he would get these cards. It was like these cards you scratch off a number and you can get to call. Those are super expensive. Like maybe like a 5-minute call was like $10, $15, $20.
Wow.
Or something like that. You have to get these like cards to call. So they would send letters and he'd like write her poems. And my dad is like a softie at heart and very like the romantic kind. He would write her poems and stories and like tell her all these little things, and he'd like spray it with perfume and send it to her. And it would like take probably like a week or two to get to her.
Probably.
You know? But yeah, that's what it was.
So cute.
Yeah.
You know, my parents got engaged after 6 months of dating.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane to think about now?
Yeah. Well, when you know, you know.
I guess that's definitely true. But they were engaged for a year. So then they were together a year and a half before they got married. But imagine that was you and me.
Yeah.
We've been together 8 years, guys.
Yeah, but again, different times. Back then, it was like when you dated people to marry.
Yeah.
Now you date the people because you to build your life.
Yeah.
It's different, A
Yeah.
lot of people date to date,
True.
to get to know people. It's
And
different.
even in our grandparents' generation, it was you date maybe 3 months, you get engaged, and then you're married in like 2 to 3 months after that. So the whole ordeal was like really fast.
We're skipping entirely over the arranged marriages and all that. Like when the parents decide you're gonna marry this person.
Yeah.
That was that. That's
I don't know if our culture really had arranged.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Lebanon, to this day,
They still have a lot of arranged marriages.
Yeah.
Ideally, there are love marriages, mind you.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes like the parents will be like, "Oh, we know what's best for you," so,
Yeah.
And sometimes that probably doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But again, the different set of circumstances. Before, like the word divorce didn't exist. People stayed good, bad.
They stayed there.
Now it's like if you're not in a good place or not in a healthy relationship, you could just walk away.
Yeah.
Whereas like before, it was like, no, you stay. And like even the independence and all that, like it was a lot more complications with the whole affair. It's easier.
Another thing they didn't have at their wedding was get a wedding video done for, I guess, a stupid moment from my part maybe, but like I don't think they had video back then really.
They did.
At our
it was super expensive.
It was
prohibitive.
like really expensive.
In the 80s and the 70s, and your grandparents got married what, in the 40s? No, 60s? No, because your parents are born in the 60s, so then in the 50s they got married.
They probably in the
And the 50s, beginning of 60s.
My mom's born in 68.
Yeah. Cameras back then were like, it was like a room, the size of a room. Like people didn't have like.
They were too big. You could not get a video done.
Yeah. It was
but
like
my parents have a video of their wedding.
Yeah.
Your parents have one?
Yeah, and it's in the 90s. Everybody had a camcorder.
Yeah. Have their parents at their wedding.
Yeah.
Especially if. So I know like my uncle didn't have his mom at his wedding because he got married here and she was living in Egypt.
Yeah.
And she was ill. She couldn't, and it was to travel as a boat. It was not a plane. So it's sad, but sometimes it would happen where your parents wouldn't be at your wedding back at our grandparents' generation.
Today we have the visa issue,
Yeah, today we have the visa issue. But let's say today we can get around a lot more easily.
Yeah.
So if, let's say, your parents had a visa issue, we could have arranged to get married in Lebanon, or we could have arranged to get married at a destination where they could easily get to,
Worst case, you Facebook Live it, right?
Oh my God. At least that's another option that was really not available back then. So they did not have bachelor and bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
Our grandparents do not understand the concept at all of the bachelor and the bachelorette parties. Yeah. They understand the concept of what it is, but they don't understand the necessity and the point and why people do this. And I get it, because for them, getting married wasn't about all the wedding events.
And exactly. I think it's not just strictly with the wedding, the bachelor and bachelorette. It's all the other wedding festivities that are around that week, all the things that we're adding, they're like, why are you guys doing that? Like,
so true. They could not kiss. My grandparents would not kiss before their wedding.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. My grandmother refused to kiss my grandfather before they were married.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
hardcore.
I was shocked when my grandfather told me this in the best way. It's so sweet. And it's for them, it was a question of respecting themselves at that time. Like, you don't give yourself to anybody unless you have a commitment from them.
Yeah. And
it's now thinking about it feels so strict, if you will. But back then, it's really actually, I find, quite romantic if you think about it.
Luckily, your grandfather was a good kisser, I guess.
I guess so. And lastly, they didn't have a wedding reception immediately after the wedding. They had their wedding reception after their honeymoon, I believe. They came back like the following weekend. They did a little thing to celebrate as opposed to having it directly. Isn't that crazy?
Different times.
Let's do our little what would Ad do. Are you ready, honey, to read me the situations?
That is very interesting. So What would I do? The overbearing in-law problem. My friend just told me about her completely overbearing in-laws. They're overprotective of the groom and think the bride is stealing him from them. They demand to know where the couple is at all times. They demand the location to be shared. They demand to know every detail of the wedding. Give me access to the guest list spreadsheet now. Spoil the engagement based by basically announcing it in the family group chat with the bride and not thinking that there's anything wrong with that because why would I want to see my son get engaged? It's for me. Bride is considering not inviting them to the wedding, but that's just instills in their mind that she's stealing the groom away. Even though obviously she's not, these people are nuts. So what does she invite them or not? What would I do?
What would I do? Okay. I spoke to the girl whose friend this is, and she said that they've already tried having a conversation with them, with the in-laws, and it didn't go over well. So what would I do? First thing, I think we need to remember setting boundaries in most situations is really important. But what does setting a boundary actually mean? From my understanding, it's not something that you tell the other person to do or to ask them to respect.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you set for yourself that you have to respect.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's a therapist who did a TikTok about this, and I thought it was genius. And if I can find it, I'll link in the description box below. But she said the example of the in-law who knocks at the door unexpected, and the daughter-in-law not liking the fact that she shows up out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
So the daughter-in-law can think that her mother-in-law is not respecting her boundary because her mother-in-law is aware that she doesn't like that, right? Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's the daughter-in-law who has to tell herself that she's going to choose not to open the door when the mother-in-law shows up. And it's really hurtful and it's really disappointing, but that is how you respect your own boundary.
Damn, that's harsh though.
It's harsh. But let's say you tell your mother-in-law, please stop coming over. It makes us uncomfortable when you show up out of the blue. We don't like it, or it disrupts our evening routine with the kids, or whatever the case may be. But she keeps doing it over and over and over. Mm-hmm. That therapist kind of said, well, the next time she does that, you can tell her that the next time she comes, you're going to refuse to open the door.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, but to bring it back to this overbearing in-law problem in the situation about inviting, I think that there are boundaries that need to be instilled within the couple mm-hmm. that they need to learn to implement for themselves. Because clearly having a discussion with the in-laws wasn't fruitful. This is the next step, unfortunately. If those boundaries start to get more and more easy to implement within yourself, then you could toe the line with inviting them. I think you should invite your in-laws and your parents to your wedding. I don't think you should not. Yeah. But there's like something to be said about sharing things. Example, like, let me see if there's demanding the location be shared. Let's say mm-hmm. I'm the mother-in-law and I say to my kid, because it's in the regards to the son, share me your location. Well, the kid could ignore that message. It's a message you don't need to say, right? Or you can say, no, I'm not comfortable. And you repeat that over and over. And if over the course of, let's say, 3 to 6 months, that starts to get easier, then I would consider inviting them and letting them be part of the day. But this is obviously an extremely difficult situation, and you can't tell people to behave a certain way. They have to choose to behave that certain way, right?
Yeah, the relationship with in-laws is always difficult. You're marrying two families together and different ways of seeing things and different way of approaching things. So that's always a bit tricky, but
yeah.
You know.
And like within our couple, if we have an issue with an in-law, we'll talk to each other about it. And that person will kind of be the boundary setter, if you will, mm-hmm. right? Like I will set our boundaries with my family and you will set our boundaries with yours within ourselves. Right. Yeah. And that's how we've kind of navigated any situations that are not nearly close to this. There's really, knock on wood, have been so lucky. But if a little thing comes up, that's how we chose to approach it.
All right. The family expectation problem. How do you handle it when you and your cousins are all engaged and planning your weddings within the same year, but honoring different traditions? Some of us want kids at the wedding, some don't. And some of us are extending +1s to unmarried cousin and some aren't. The family is expecting all of us to invite kids on +1, even though some of us don't want kids or +1. The family gets upset when they bring kids to one but not the other. How do you manage these expectations?
Yeah, this is really hard. I didn't add the full paragraph, but like the person who submitted this said like the family's already upset that they can't bring the kids to one wedding and the +1s to one wedding, but they can to the other. And this sort of thing inevitably happens, right? Like you're gonna ruffle feathers regardless of any decision. And at the end of the day, I think it's choosing to firstly try and communicate with them. Okay. If that doesn't bear fruit, you have to move to the next thing, which is, I think, like protecting your peace. How do you protect your peace? You kind of choose to ignore it or remove yourself from situations that seem to ruffle everyone's feathers.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even a question about want or not wanting, sometimes it's venue capacity. Sometimes it's legit, like you don't want kids at your wedding, and that's okay too. Sometimes it's just gonna be like, it is what it is. And some weddings will have and some weddings won't. And you'll enjoy the ones that do and you won't enjoy the ones that don't.
Yeah. And everybody has free will at the end of the day. Like if the parents are not comfortable not going without their kids, they're free to decline the invite. It's hard to say that to someone.
Yeah.
And there's a way to approach it too, where you could say, hey, if there's anything uncomfortable about my wedding, I totally respect any decision that you make and will be fully supportive of what you choose to do. But ultimately, we've decided not to have kids and +1s at our wedding due to our venue capacity and budget restraints. And we're going to have to leave it at that. People still throw fits.
For sure.
People will throw fits.
Everybody's going to have an opinion.
Everybody's going to have an opinion, but you stand your ground in what you said and you walk away. There's not much more you could do.
All right. The photographer problem. The bride's sister-in-law is a wedding photographer and offered to shoot the wedding as a gift, but her work is not good. The couple already paid a deposit to a photographer they love. Now the sister-in-law is furious and saying they're hurting the family business and disrespecting her. The bride doesn't want family drama, but also doesn't want out-of-focus memory. So, what would Ad do?
The bride doesn't want family drama, but doesn't want... Yeah. They're hurting the family business. Ooh. The bride's sister-in-law is the wedding photographer and offered to shoot the wedding as a gift. You know what you do? You know what Ad would do?
What would Ad do?
She would say, I want nothing more than you to be a part of our day and not have to work on that day.
Yeah.
It would mean more to me for you to be here as a guest than as a vendor. And for that reason, we've already hired somebody, so we don't even have to put you in that uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. Honestly, the people pleaser in me side would be like, you know what? Like, we already have this photographer. It's a gift. We're not paying for it. It's going to make her happy. Let her shoot, Worst case, we'll get out of the 1,000 pictures she's going to take, maybe we'll get 5 good ones that are like special with their out of focusness,
That's
like,
so the type B in you, because the type A in me right now is like,
it's like it's twitching.
The vein is popping.
No, but honestly, like they could just, she could just do her thing. Like if it's going to make her happy to give you some pictures, take them. Like it's not costing you anything. At the end of the day, it's her business. She wants to do that. Like, bring your camera, take some pictures on the side, and like if you do, you do, and if you don't, you don't.
Is in your scenario you also have another?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you need to clarify that.
Oh yeah, 100%. No. If you know the pictures are not gonna be good, you back up. You get a backup, and that's, you don't tell her that, but you do you. You get your, you say we paid a deposit, we're gonna lose our deposit, so you have your photographer.
Well, that's another good excuse, actually. Yeah. We already paid the deposit.
It's not an excuse, it's the reality. Then her story, she's saying that they paid the deposit.
Oh, they already did. Sorry,
yeah, they paid the deposit.
The couple already paid a deposit.
Yeah. So sorry, we paid the deposit. But if you want to bring your camera and take some, B-roll footage and like you have some special pictures that you want to take, go for it.
I think that's actually fine, so long as they don't start to impede on the actual photographer and videographer.
Yeah.
And like, how do you control? We can say like at our engagement party, we hired a photographer, but your uncle also brought his camera, and it was perfect. Like everybody kind of took pictures, and like nobody got in each other's way,
100%.
and we got double the pictures, so that was amazing, right?
And some of the pictures my uncle took were amazing, and some of the pictures that Mark took were like gorgeous. So,
Exactly. 100%. So then the scenario like that where you know it's going to be like that, you're like, it's fine. Everybody can bring a camera, right? In a scenario where the sister or the sister-in-law is...
she seems more like, you know,
on it. Like, she's like, it's going to be her job for the day and like she wants to get in.
She's like a photographer.
There's going to be headbutting. No? Would you not think?
I think so.
I mean, I think a little bit.
Yeah. The way she's saying it, like, you're hurting the family business, she takes pride in her work.
Yeah.
I think so. That's why I'm like, okay, like, you know what? It's going to make her happy to bring her camera. You know.
Yeah. I guess this is what would Antoine do. He would say okay to both. But what Ad would do is respectfully ask your sister-in-law to be part of the day and not, like, make her understand that, like, you want her part of the day and not part of the crew.
That's what I'd do.
That's what I would do. Yeah. To close things off, I want to read you and everybody the update. You didn't get to hear the story yesterday, but I want to read this quick update on I stood in my partner's best friend's wedding and his wife made me wear a wig. To give you the TLDR, she basically wore the wig by force because she like had copper hair and the bride wanted her to have like normal color hair. So they just slapped on a wig to make the pictures look nice.
Oof. So
first the update, then clarification from some of the recurring comments. Here we go. Update. I told my husband I'm not going to read the letter. The apology is 1.5 years late, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a load of BS intended to get back to being friends with him. If they truly cared about me in the situation, they'd never have called me crazy. They'd have apologized the minute I expressed how hurt I was. They wouldn't have done what they did in the first place. Joe is a huge believer in giving people room to grow and learning from mistakes, which is why he told me about the letter in the first place and not just burned it himself. After our talk, he realized what kind of damage it would do to me to let Seth and Mia back into our lives, even if they have grown and changed. I don't need to be their human empathy test subject. I truly hope they've become better people, but given they're reaching out because nobody else will be friends with them, I doubt they truly are. As for the comments, I had a lot of people asserting that the outcome of this is entirely my fault and that I let myself be walked all over, so I deserved everything that came to me. While I don't entirely disagree, I do think that even in my long-ass post, there is a lot of context missing. To start, Joe and Seth had been best friends for over 10 years at this point. If I caused a scene at Seth's wedding, even warranted, I feared what it would do to their friendship. The friendship basically ended either way thanks to Seth's wife, but I digress. I wore the wig because I didn't want to rock the boat. I was young and naive and didn't actually think Mia would make me wear a wig until the morning of, when they were slapping a wig on my head and shooting me out of the salon chair. I'd heard from Mia firsthand how much stress she was under due to the wedding and her insane mother, and I thought being a sounding board for her and being there for her would have made her have a change of heart. Instead, I became the target. She couldn't very well bully her mother. She just bullied me instead. There were also a lot of people calling me out about Seth pulling me aside and telling me how unhappy he was. And again, I think you're missing key context. I didn't just tell him, quote, we have a spare bedroom for you, and leave it at that. I talked at length with him about these things because he was having cold feet before the wedding.
Oh.
I told him that he deserved better, that he could come stay with us for as long as he needed to figure things out, that no matter how deep the hole he dug himself felt, we were there to get him out of it. He had a house and pets with Mia. He worked with Mia's dad. She had successfully made herself a part of every piece of his life, and in our conversation, I told Seth that Joe and I could help him detach however he needed. I even told him he was being abused, especially when it came to things being thrown and doors being slammed. But Seth is of the mindset that men can never be the victims of domestic violence. I wonder if that mindset has changed by now. Point is, I said everything but outright telling him to leave Mia. Maybe that's what the comments were getting at, is that I should have spelled it out like that. The day before the wedding, Seth asked if it was too late, and Joy and I told him no. We told him he could get in the car and we could drive away with no questions asked. Seth is a grown adult too. He chose what he did. Lots of people were coming after my husband as well, and I can't lie, Seth and Mia's wedding definitely did some damage to our relationship. I left that situation feeling like no matter how many times Joe told me I was the most important person in his life, there would always be something or someone that could get in the way of that. Things were rocky for a bit. He was apologetic the moment the wedding was over, wishing he'd taken the wig off my head or gone to the salon and picked me up and taken me home. Hindsight is 20/20, I guess. If either of us had known that no matter what, Seth and Mia were going to completely isolate themselves, I wouldn't have worried so much about preserving Joe and Seth's friendship, and neither would he. At the end of it, though, Joe and I have talked it through. We now know where our priorities lie. The only reason he'd been advocating for me to read the apology letter was for my own peace of mind and my own closure. He respects my decision to leave the note unread and leave Seth and Mia to be unhappily ever after. Oof.
It's tough, huh? Because I think the thing that's important to remember here is like she didn't want to make the wedding about her, I guess.
Yeah.
You know? And like, so they went along with it.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, it's your dignity. Like somebody's saying like, hey, I don't like the way your hair looks. Sucks.
The girl full on left the wedding and cried in her car.
For sure. I understand that.
Yeah. No, it's really sad. And there's so many crazy comments that you guys have to read. I'll link the story in the description box below as well. But Antoine, thank you for co-hosting with me today.
I hope you enjoyed.
I did very much so. Thank you.
It was an interesting dynamic. It was fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we could do it again for sure.
What would I do?
What would I do?
Antoine goes in and says it Antoine
And what
does.
would Antoine do? Yeah, I love it. We get different perspectives. It's perfect.
There you go.
If you have any crazy wedding horror story you'd like us to read here live on the podcast, you can email it at hello@weddingwednesdaypod.com. We read them completely anonymously. Of course, I'm going to ask you to please take 2 minutes to rate, review, subscribe, because it really does help our podcast grow. And with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.